Picture a dump truck longer than a passenger train carriage, wider than a 4-lane highway, and so heavy it shakes the ground like a small earthquake. Now imagine one that actually generates more electricity than it uses, running on gravity alone. Then imagine a 360-ton monster controlled by no one, driving itself across a mine in the middle of the night with no headlights. These aren't movie props. These are 10 real dump trucks that shattered every rule of engineering, and the last one will leave you completely stunned. Number 10. The Caterpillar 797F. We start with a machine that broke the rules by refusing to play by them. While almost every other ultra-class dump truck on Earth uses a diesel-electric drivetrain, the Caterpillar 797F stubbornly uses a fully mechanical transmission. And that decision turned out to be brilliant. The 797F is powered by a single Caterpillar C175-20 engine. It has 20 cylinders. It displaces 175 liters. It produces 4,000 gross horsepower. To put that in perspective, that's the equivalent power of about 25 Lamborghini Aventadors, all bolted together in one engine block. That monster engine sends its power through a 7-speed planetary transmission with a separate lockup torque converter, all controlled by a network of onboard computers. The 797F can haul a payload of 400 short tons, roughly 363 metric tons. Loaded, it weighs over 1 million pounds. And here's the truly bizarre part. This truck cannot be driven on public roads, ever. If you need to move one from one mine to another, you have to take it apart, load it onto 12 or 13 separate semi-trailer trucks, drive those trailers to the new mine, and then have a team of 7 mechanics work around the clock for about 20 days to weld and bolt the truck back together. Each Cat 797F costs around $5 million, but with proper maintenance, it can be completely rebuilt several times across a typical 20-year life. In some Canadian oil sands mines, drivers don't even shut these trucks off during winter, because if you do, you won't get them started again until spring. The 797F was also the first dump truck in history to be designed entirely on computer, way back in the late 1990s. Engineers at Caterpillar's Decatur, Illinois facility used computer-aided design from the very beginning, which let them simulate stress, weight distribution, and component fatigue before a single piece of steel was cut. That approach is standard today, but in 1997, it was revolutionary. Each one of the 797F's 6 tires is a Michelin 5980 R63 XDR, over 13 feet tall and weighing more than 11,000 pounds apiece. The truck's bolts are also worth mentioning. Each wheel is held to the axle by 54 nuts, each torqued to over 2,300 foot-pounds of force. That's the kind of detail that separates this machine from everything else on the road, or rather, off the road. Number 9. The Volvo A60H articulated hauler. Now we switch from rigid frame giants to a machine that bends in the middle. The Volvo A60H, unveiled at Bauma in 2016, was the world's largest articulated dump truck when it launched, and it broke the rules by combining a massive payload with the agility of a smaller hauler. What makes an articulated dump truck different? It has a hinge between the cab and the dump bed. That hinge allows the entire back half of the truck to pivot, which means the A60H can navigate around tight corners, climb steep grades, and operate on soft, uneven, or muddy ground where rigid trucks would either get stuck or tip over. The A60H carries 55 metric tons of payload, about 60 short tons, which Volvo claims is roughly 40% more than its next smaller model, the A40G. The truck is powered by a 16-liter Volvo D16F diesel engine, producing 663 horsepower and 3,200 Newton-meters of torque. It runs in 6x6 configuration with 100% differential locks, an all-terrain bogie system, and active hydraulic front suspension that lets it haul at high speeds across terrain that would shake a rigid truck to pieces. The A60H has a top speed of 55 kilometers per hour, weighs about 43 tons empty, and grosses out at over 98 tons when fully loaded. In 2025, Volvo revealed the next generation A60, which delivers 15% better fuel efficiency and 5% higher productivity than the A60H it replaces, proving the rule-breaking design just keeps getting better. Number 8. The Liebherr T282B B8. If the CAT 797 is the stubborn American, the Liebherr T282B is the precision-engineered European. Introduced at the Bauma Trade Fair in Munich on March 29, 2004, the T282B held the title of the world's largest payload capacity haul truck for over 4 years until competitors caught up. This machine breaks the rules by being remarkably light for its size. It weighs only 203 tons empty, but can carry up to 363 tons of payload. That's a maximum operating weight of 592 tons when fully loaded. Its 14.5-meter-long body sits on a wheelbase of 6.6 meters, and the top of its canopy reaches 7.4 meters into the sky. Underneath that massive frame is one of 2 engine options, either a Detroit diesel/MTU 20V 4000 V20 producing 3,650 horsepower at 90 liters of displacement, or a Cummins QSK 78 V18 producing 3,500 horsepower at 78 liters. Either way, it's diesel-electric. The engine drives an alternator, which powers 2 Siemens Liebherr AC traction motors mounted in the rear axle. What makes the T282B truly unusual is the AC drive system itself. Most older mining trucks used DC drives, which were simpler but less efficient. The T282B was one of the early pioneers of AC technology in ultra-class haulage, and that single decision improved productivity, reduced maintenance, and enabled smoother power delivery. It also features front and rear suspension designs that maximize the payload-to-weight ratio. Oh, and it comes with optional air conditioning and a CD player, which is genuinely unusual in the world of professional hauling. Each one costs roughly $3.5 million. Number 7. The BelAZ 7571T. And now we arrive at the king. The BelAZ 7571T, manufactured in Belarus since 2013, is the largest dump truck on the planet, and it broke every single rule in the book just by existing. How big is it? The 700-700 stretches 20.6 meters long, 9.87 meters wide, and 8.16 meters tall. That's roughly the size of a 2-story building on wheels. Empty, it weighs 360 tons. Loaded, its gross vehicle weight reaches a staggering 810 tons. Its payload capacity, 450 metric tons of ore, hauled in a single trip. To put that in context, a typical heavy-duty highway truck might carry 25 to 40 tons. The 700-710 carries more than 10 of those at once. Power comes from not 1 but 2 MTU 16 V 4000 diesel engines. Each engine has 16 cylinders, displaces 65 liters, and produces 2,300 horsepower. Combined, that's 4,600 horsepower, roughly 6 times the power of a Formula One race car. The engines don't drive the wheels directly. Instead, they power generators, which feed electricity to 4 AC traction motors, 1 for each wheel. The truck has all-wheel drive and all-wheel steering, with a turning radius of just under 20 meters, despite its enormous size. The 8 tires are 4 meters tall, taller than most people's living rooms. Each one weighs several tons. Fuel consumption, around 1,300 liters of diesel per 100 kilometers, although the truck can run on a single engine when empty to save fuel. Cost, around $6 million per truck. The frame is built from advanced high-strength steel, which is what allows the truck to carry such immense loads without collapsing under its own weight. The BelAZ 7571T doesn't just break the rules of dump truck design, it rewrites them. What's even more impressive is that the BelAZ 7571T was built specifically to meet the needs of a single customer, a Russian mining operation that needed bigger machines to keep up with growing extraction demands. Belarusian engineers responded by going further than anyone thought reasonable. The truck operates almost exclusively at large iron ore and coal mines in remote regions of Russia, where the temperatures can plunge to -50°C in winter, and the haul distances span several kilometers across active pit floors. The hydraulic suspension system uses massive cylinders to dampen the brutal impacts that come with carrying nearly 500,000 kilograms of rock across an uneven mine surface. Inside the cab, the operator sits in an ergonomically designed seat with noise reduction technology, real-time monitoring screens, and GPS tracking, because driving a building-sized truck up a mountain of broken rock requires a lot of information arriving very quickly. Number 6. The Komatsu 930E. The Komatsu 930E is the workhorse of mining operations around the world, and it broke the rules by quietly becoming one of the most reliable ultra-class haul trucks ever built. With a payload capacity of around 320 short tons, the 930E goes head-to-head with the CAT 797 in mines from Wyoming to Western Australia. What unusual about it? Unlike the CAT 797's mechanical drivetrain, the Komatsu 930E uses a diesel-electric system. A massive diesel engine spins an alternator that produces electricity, and that electricity feeds traction motors mounted directly inside the hubs of the rear wheels. There's no transmission, there's no drive shaft. The wheel motors are the drivetrain. This setup has one enormous advantage. The same motors that propel the truck forward can act as regenerative brakes when going downhill, slowing the truck while dumping electricity into massive resistor grids on the frame, where it's converted to heat. Without this dynamic braking, a fully loaded 930E rolling downhill would be essentially impossible to stop with conventional brakes alone. The 930E has gone through multiple generations, and the latest power-agnostic version is being prepared to operate on battery power, on diesel, or with trolley assist, all from the same chassis. Komatsu's 930E at Boliden's Aitik mine in Sweden is reportedly going to be one of the first to be fitted with a battery pack, expected sometime in 2026. One truck, 3 different fuel sources. That's the kind of flexibility that the next decade of mining is going to demand. Number 5. The Trolley Assist Dump Truck. Imagine a dump truck running like a streetcar. That's exactly what trolley assist mining trucks do, and the concept has been quietly revolutionizing open-pit mining for years. The idea is simple but brilliant. String an overhead electrical line above the main haul road, equip the truck with a pantograph just like a tram, and let the truck connect to that line when climbing the steepest uphill sections. The benefits are massive. A diesel-electric mining truck climbing a ramp burns enormous amounts of fuel because that's when the engine is working hardest. By switching to grid power on the uphill stretch, the truck saves dramatic quantities of diesel and produces zero emissions during the climb. Boliden's Aitik mine in northern Sweden, working with Caterpillar and ABB, has been a pioneering site for this technology. A pilot project at Aitik used 4 CAT 795F AC trucks connected to a 700-meter trolley line, and the results were impressive enough that Boliden decided to expand the system to its entire 795F AC fleet. Productivity goes up because trucks can climb faster on grid power. Speeds increase from around 15 kilometers per hour on diesel alone to 25 or 27 kilometers per hour on trolley assist. A single mining truck can use about 1 million liters of diesel per year, and a fleet of 4 trolley-assisted trucks at Boliden saves around 800,000 liters of diesel annually. In 2024, Boliden, Epiroc, and ABB even unveiled the first fully battery-electric trolley truck system for underground mining, deploying it on an 800-meter test track with a 13% incline. That's a dump truck that runs on batteries when off the wire and recharges automatically when it's on the wire. It's brilliant. Number 4. The E-Dumper. Now we get to the strangest, most counterintuitive dump truck on this list. It's called the E-Dumper, sometimes the electro-dumper, and it operates by a principle so unusual that it sounds like it shouldn't work. It generates more energy than it consumes, literally. It's the world's largest electric vehicle that has never needed to be plugged in. Here's how it works. The E-Dumper was built by Kuhn Schweiz, a Swiss machinery manufacturer, by converting a Komatsu HD 6057 mining truck to electric power. They threw out the 23.1-liter straight-six turbo diesel engine and replaced it with electric motors fed by a lithium-ion battery pack that weighs about 4 metric tons and holds 600 kilowatt-hours, roughly 6 times the capacity of a Tesla Model X. The E-Dumper operates at a Swiss cement plant, Siemens SA, in the city of Biel, Switzerland. The truck climbs about a 13% grade, empty, to the top of a hill. There, it loads up with 65 tons of lime and marl. Then it drives back down the hill. Because it's heavier going down than going up, the regenerative braking system harvests more electricity on the descent than the motors use during the ascent. The truck arrives at the bottom with a higher battery charge than when it started. It's a perpetual physics experiment that breaks the rule that you can't get something for nothing. The e-dumper, weighing 45 tons empty and grossing at 110 tons fully loaded, can generate up to 200 kilowatt-hours of surplus energy across 20 trips per day, totaling roughly 77 megawatt-hours per year. That's enough to save 88,000 liters of diesel and avoid 196 tons of CO2 emissions annually, without ever being plugged in. CNN famously brought Formula E racing driver Lucas di Grassi to test drive the e-dumper, and he confirmed the experience for himself, reaching the top of the grade with an 80% charge and regenerating around 8% on the way down. The truck dimensions are also worth noting. At roughly 9.36 meters long, 4.24 meters wide, and 4.4 meters tall, with 1.8 meter high tires, it remains an absolutely enormous vehicle by any measure. But what makes it special isn't its size, it's the principle it proves. When you have a regular descent built into your work cycle, electric vehicles aren't just viable, they can be self-powering. Other mining operations around the world are now studying the e-dumper model, and similar machines are being planned for limestone, gypsum, and other downhill hauling quarry operations across Europe. Number 3. The autonomous haul truck. What if a dump truck doesn't need a driver at all? That's the rule-breaking question that Caterpillar, Komatsu, and other manufacturers have been answering for over a decade now. And the answer is nothing. It works perfectly. Caterpillar's MineStar Command for Hauling system was commercially launched in 2013, and by early 2020, the autonomous fleet had hauled over 2 billion tons of material. That's 2.2 billion short tons. The fleet is made up of CAT 789D, 793F, and 797F trucks, plus a fleet of Komatsu 930Es, all operating completely without human drivers in some of the largest mines on Earth. As of 2020, Command-equipped trucks had driven over 67.6 million kilometers. That's 42 million miles without a single lost-time injury. How do these trucks operate? They use a combination of GPS, LiDAR, radar, and onboard cameras to navigate the mine. Central computers track every truck in real time, coordinating loading at the shovel, hauling along the route, and dumping at the crusher or waste dump. The trucks can run 24 hours a day, in any weather, without needing breaks, food, or sleep. They never get bored, distracted, or fatigued. And they don't need pressurized cabs, climate control, or any of the human comfort features that add weight and cost to manned trucks. In late 2024, John Deere even unveiled the first autonomous articulated dump truck at CES 2025, pushing the technology beyond ultra-class rigid trucks and into the smaller construction and quarry market. The rule that's been broken here is profound. For over a century, operating a vehicle meant a human sitting behind a wheel. Now, in mines from Australia to Chile, the dump trucks drive themselves, and they do it more safely, more consistently, and more profitably than humans ever could. Number 2. The historic Dr. 631. Let's take a step back in time to honor the great-grandfather of every modern articulated hauler, the Volvo DR631, sometimes called the Gravel Charlie, was introduced in 1966 and was the world's first true articulated dump truck. Before this machine existed, all dump trucks were rigid frame. If the road was rough, the truck got stuck. If the ground was soft, the truck sank. The DR631 broke every rule of dump truck design by introducing a hinge. That single hinge in the middle of the chassis transformed the industry. Suddenly, a dump truck could pivot. It could climb out of muddy holes that swallowed rigid trucks whole. It could traverse uneven ground without losing wheel contact, because the front and rear sections could move independently. The DR631 was based on a Volvo BM tractor up front, with an articulated trailer in the back, and it could go places no rigid dump truck had ever been able to reach. When Volvo unveiled its modern A60H in 2016, they displayed it right next to a restored DR631 to honor the lineage, the rule breaker that started it all. The DR631 was relatively modest by today's standards, carrying just a fraction of what modern articulated dump trucks can handle. But it proved that the hinge design worked, and within decades, virtually every major construction equipment manufacturer on Earth had its own articulated hauler. That hinge, that one tiny rule break in 1966, created an entire industry segment that hauls billions of tons of material every year. Number 1. The Armored Military Heavy Dump Truck. We end with the strangest dump truck of all. one that breaks the rule that a dump truck is just for hauling earth and minerals. The U.S. Army's M917A3 heavy dump truck is built by Mack Defense, and under a $21.8 million contract awarded over 5 years, up to 450 units of this military dump truck are being produced for the U.S. Army. Why is this machine unusual? Because it's a dump truck designed to survive combat. The M917A3 features armored cab protection to safeguard soldiers from improvised explosive devices, ballistic threats, and the kind of conditions no commercial dump truck would ever encounter. It uses a heavy-duty Mack chassis adapted for military service, and it can be deployed to construct fortifications, repair runways, build forward operating bases, and haul materials in active war zones, all under the kind of threats that would terrify any civilian operator. The truck breaks every rule of what a dump truck should be. It's not designed for productivity in the traditional sense. It's not optimized for fuel economy. It's not aimed at moving the most ore per hour. Instead, it's designed to survive and to keep moving even when its surroundings are trying to destroy it. The armored cab, the reinforced chassis, the run-flat tires, and the heavy-duty drivetrain combine to create a machine that's part construction equipment and part battlefield vehicle. When the conditions are too hostile for civilian trucks, when no normal dump truck can survive, the M917A3 keeps doing its job. It's a fitting end to this list because it shows just how far the concept of a dump truck has stretched. From the gravel haulers of the 1960s to the 4,600 horsepower giants of Belarus, to the gravity-powered electric truck in the Swiss Alps, to the self-driving robots of Australian mines, to the armored troop supporters of modern militaries. Each of these machines broke a fundamental rule about what a dump truck could be, and every one of them changed the world a little bit in the process. If you enjoyed this video, hit subscribe for more deep dives into the strangest and most powerful machines on the planet. See you in the next one.